Hi, how's everybody today? Thank you so much for tuning in. We're going to talk today a little bit about continuous improvement strategies for Project Search. Project Search is certainly happy with the results that we're getting, but we know that we can always get better. Our staff is constantly in a state of continuous improvement and looking at the results that we are getting from our sites and the work that we're doing, and how can we develop more training and more activities so that our interns and our staff are getting better and better results. As you know, our goal is 100% employment. We want each of our sites to have a goal of competitive employment for every one of our interns. So we're looking at some strategies and some programs that can help us get there. I'm going to talk to you about a couple of those. The Family Involvement Curriculum, which is being piloted in several states, including Ohio and Wisconsin and Minnesota. The Business Advisory Committee. Some research that we have through a grant from the Mitsubishi Electric America Foundation about our high achieving sites, and our audits, and a few other things as well. So let's start with family involvement. Why is it so critical to have involvement and support from our families? There's lots and lots of research out there that shows with youth with disabilities, as well as just typical youth that have more involved families, get better outcomes. Now, this should come as no surprise to any of us, but oftentimes because we're dealing with older students and young adults, we often forget to include families or think that our students should just be self-advocates. However, we know that our Project Search youth, most of them are continuing to live with their family members throughout the Project Search year and beyond, and that they're supported by their family members, so let's involve them in every way we can possible. Also, many of our Project Search sites are experiencing frustration from staff when families didn't support the employment outcomes and suggestions for a variety of reasons. So, over the last year, we've been working with some families to develop a family involvement curriculum that can be implemented and customized for each site. One of the first things that we're asking sites to do is identify a family member that is either a current family member of an intern or a past family member, or even just a family member of another transition student that has been highly involved in your school or your community. That person acts as a volunteer to coordinate and facilitate the family involvement goals and training sessions with the Project Search instructor and the job coaches. That person also encourages participation of all family members and interns in those team goals and those training sessions. And they find space and market goals in the training sessions for current families involved in the Project Search program. The Project Search curriculum consists of 4 PowerPoint presentations and training sessions that can be presented to family members before the program starts and then throughout the year. The first presentation is aimed at simply an introduction to Project Search. We know that when family members sign their young people up for Project Search, they're doing it hopefully because they're excited about Project Search, they've heard great things about it, they might want their young person to get involved in employment, or they simply think that the host business might be a wonderful place for them to find training and career experience for a year. But after they get accepted into Project Search, we want to reintroduce Project Search to the families and get them re-engaged in the process. So we want to present this Project Search kind of again to the families to say, what is it that you signed up for? How can you be involved in Project Search? How do we expect you to come to meetings such as those employment planning meetings, which are held 6 times a year? How can you be involved in job development? How can you support your young person? And how can you reinforce employability skills that their students are learning? So we want to present that in the spring after the cohort is selected, but before the school year ends, so that we can capture all the families before they go off to summer vacations, etc. That could be presented at the school, or it could be presented at the host business, wherever is a central place for families to get involved. The second presentation is about Social Security benefits. That can be presented anytime in the summer before the program begins. Probably the best time would be in August, right before the Project Search program begins and families are back from summer vacations, or even in September, just as soon as the program starts. We would encourage Project Search programs to invite their local Social Security Administration contact to present this information and therefore build long-term relationships with family members of our young people in Project Search. We don't expect family liaisons or Project Search staff to be experts in Social Security by any stretch of the imagination. We want that Social Security person to come in and present that. We want to ensure that families have information regarding benefits, and we want to coordinate individual benefits analysis for each family. We want to discuss things like, what are past plans? What are those kind of work-related incentives that might help those families to retain benefits while at the same time supporting employment and follow along when it's needed for young people? We also want to address families' fears about what happens if a student loses their job. How can they sign back up for benefits? We also realize that many families are using those benefits to help pay family bills, pay monthly bills, and we realize that it's scary sometimes as families transition from a monthly benefit to competitive employment. We also want families to be comfortable with the fact that they can often earn more when a young person is working, that it just might seem like a very different kind of income, but in many ways it's going to be a better income. So this is a really important piece and can actually introduce families to a long-standing relationship with that local Social Security office and person. The third presentation is about job development. Every Project Search program, no matter where it is in the United States or abroad, has a different job development process, and we want to familiarize families with that process. Who is it that's going to do the job development? Is it a job coach? Is it a job developer? Is it the teacher? We want to put names with faces. We want to familiarize families with when job development starts. We want to identify that timeline. We also want to talk about things like how many students might be employed at the host business based on past performance. Many families just expect that students are going to get employed at the host business, and that isn't typically the case. We want families to start thinking about what are the dotted lines from our host business to employment opportunities in the community. Who do they know in the community that could help us with job development? What are those IEP and IPE goals from Voc Rehab that the students have that families can reinforce? Also, what are community options that could help us get employment? In all reality, we need to involve family members for their networks, for their contacts, and for their support so that all young people can get employed. The last presentation is meant to be customized depending on the needs of the students and the needs of the entire class and the host business. It might be a presentation on wills and trusts. It might be a presentation on independent living options. It might be a presentation on what are the leisure activities or community opportunities in your local area that students should take advantage of. We also want to invite families to think about the fact that it's not just a job that Project Search is looking at, but it's a career. So long term, how can we help support that young people to transition from that first job to a lifetime career? And how can families be involved in that? And what are the next steps after graduation if the student is not employed at the end of the year? And we want families not to be fearful of the fact that their student might not have a job in June, but what are those next steps that we can help them with and we can connect them to? So that last presentation, again, is meant to be customized. It might actually be more than one presentation, depending on the needs and the time that your staff and your family liaison have. There's also a lot of customization that could happen in that family involvement curriculum in terms of just other activities. There's lots of informal support groups that your Project Search program might decide to develop based on your needs and your staff. You might want to utilize your family members for marketing in the community, job development depending on where they live, guest speakers depending on where they work. They could help you network to communities and businesses in your local areas. They could be guest speakers, they could be mentors. They can always enhance skills that lead to independence at home, and they can reinforce and encourage those career and those employability skills that we're working on. So we need to involve our families because we know it will lead to increased employability for our young people. Second thing that we want to talk about is a business advisory committee. Now keep in mind that any of your project search partners might already have a business advisory committee. We are encouraging each project search committee to have its own business advisory group that's dedicated solely to project search. We realize that this might be more work, but we also know that it increases results. We want to create and commit that group to a high goal of employment. We want representation throughout the communities where project search students live. That might be a large geographic area or a small geographic area, depending on where your project search program is. We want to represent the variety of industry sectors that relate to the skills that the students are learning. And we want members to represent businesses that are not necessarily social or rehab services. So again, this is meant to be a purely business advisory committee, different than your steering committee. The goal is to open doors to businesses that are not naturally available to project search staff or the host business. That project search advisory committee is meant to meet about 4 to 5 times a year. We want the members of the business advisory committee to get to know the students, their skills, their strengths, and their job goals. We want to commit those members to marketing the students in the community and or the industry sector where that student wants to work. We're asking them to mentor students in interviewing and presentation skills. And we're also asking them to participate in events such as open houses and job fairs. Aside from family involvement, aside from business advisory committee, we're right now looking at our high achieving sites. And what we mean by our high achieving sites are sites that are reaching 90 and 100% employment outcomes. We received a grant from the Mitsubishi Electric America Foundation recently, and we're studying those teams. And some of the things that we are finding out is these are the attributes that those teams have. Strong communication within all their members. Commitment to meeting together on a very frequent basis, and that's monthly or more often. They value their partners. They're honest with each other. They have monthly steering committee meetings. Those members attend project search trainings such as our national conference or statewide meetings. And most of those teams include their business liaisons and representatives from local developmental disability agencies. Some of the other things that they're doing is starting job development early in the school year. Most of them have a dedicated time for job development and starting in January of the school year. They have a structured job development process that is thoughtful and intentional, and they have high expectations of their young people. They have a proactive mindset about finding employment, and they have a mix of internal and external employment outcomes, which means some of the students are finding jobs at the host site, and many of the students are finding jobs in the community. In our self-study of our high-achieving programs, we're also looking at internships. Those high-achieving programs have a variety of rich choices of internships throughout that host business. The staff, the teacher, and the job coaches are building a skills matrix. A skills matrix is a lean tool that we teach that identifies the internships and crosswalks it against the skills that they're teaching with the skills that are necessary that a young person needs to be hired and have within 90 days or so within hire of an entry-level position at the host business or in the community. Those internships, the staff has high standards and high expectations of the young people. Those internships are seeking to build competitive, transferable skills that match the needs of our host business as well as the needs of the community employers that could hire our interns. Our high achieving programs are also developing a student recruitment process that is very thoughtful and deliberate, which means that we are looking at selecting candidates that are appropriate to the business. That selection process follows a process that includes an application, an interview, oftentimes hands-on assessments or a working interview. It also looks at assessing students on a rubric. We look at somewhere between 15 and 20 items on a rubric where we are assessing students from a 1 to 5 scale. And we are often choosing students that are in the middle of that rubric, which means that we aren't looking for students always that achieve the highest. We're looking for students that need the program of Project Search, need the intensive supports that are necessary for this year of training, and need the supports and skill development that students get from both the employability skills curriculum and the internships are available. So we're looking at candidates that have good communication skills, but will benefit from additional communication skills and training that they get throughout the year. Lastly, some of the high achieving programs that we're looking at, many of them were in hospital settings. Now, please measure that against the fact that the majority of our Project Search are still in hospital settings, so that might be a little skewed. Most of them are in large employers, 800 or more employees, and there are sites that are involved in ongoing staff training, especially through Project Search, so that staff is attending things like quarterly meetings, statewide meetings, and attending our national Project Search conference that's held every summer. So they are constantly in a state of continuous improvement themselves. All right, one of our other tools that are high achieving, or another tool that our sites are using to improve their results, is a performance review or an audit. This is a tool that we started several years ago that help our sites measure themselves against Project Search model components and standards. It's a 2-day process that brings in a Project Search reviewer, and they measure themselves against our model fidelity. We have 10 Project Search core model fidelity components and then other program model fidelity components in the areas of school responsibilities, the host business, vocational rehab, community rehab partners, and family members. Now, if you think about those are simply our partners, and those are fidelity components related to what our partners are saying are important to them. The performance reviews are a series of observations, tours, and interviews with partners, students, family members, and other related groups. We measure the quality and commitment to those goals, and we end the 2-day process with recommendations to the team and areas for improvement. The review is not punitive, it's really a goal of continuous improvement for that team. It gives team members a focus for strategic planning. And an additional goal of the audit allows team members to replicate Project Search in their own geographic areas with the same partners. So here's some sample commendations that a Project Search team received after an audit. One of them said, although the economy has been challenging, the first cohort of students all have jobs in the community, including a position at the host business. Another commendation said that team members have a strong collaborative partners. Another commendation said the school district, adult employment agency, division of voc rehab, and the hospital are all committed to the program starting at the management and leadership level. Another one said excellent internal marketing and communication. Hospital leadership is interested in promoting Project Search to other businesses in the community. And lastly, The commendation said, interesting and creating student self-evaluation system. It appears to motivate and educate students on the value of paid employment. Those are great commendations for any project search team. The recommendations to that same team were continue to start job development planning during the second internship. Include job developers in those employment planning meetings. Remember, those employment planning meetings are held twice an internship. Include the goal of employment on the agenda of every quarterly partnership team meeting and incorporate it in the strategic plan. Another one was explore the development of a business advisory committee composed of individuals from businesses related to the host business industry. Involve leadership from the hospital as part of that committee. And lastly, utilize development of the new family involvement curriculum to educate and engage parents and support them to access their networks for job development. So a few other things that we are always encouraging our project search sites so that they get better results. Have high expectations. We want every project search program to set a high goal of employment and work toward that. We want all team members to be aware of that high goal, including the students. The students need to know that their goal is employment. Everyone needs to believe in those students and the gifts they bring, and purposely set the interns so that the students increase marketable, competitive, transferable skills. And celebrate success, both internally and externally. Market your program. We're going to highlight and show a short film clip from a program in Nebraska. This is their first year of the program, and it's a little bit north of Omaha, Nebraska, at a large Embassy Suites. The teacher and job coach there nominated the Embassy Suites for a national award, and it looks like they might receive that award. We don't know yet, but you're going to see a 3-minute video clip that the staff developed about the Embassy Suites, about their students, and about the staff at the Embassy Suites who are working with their students to achieve competitive employment.
Scott, I'm the Director of Sales at the Embassy Suites in La Vista. I'm very excited to tell you about our program with Project Search. Essentially, it's a school-to-work program for special needs students in their final year. What they do is they move their whole classroom out here to the hotel, and they spend their days in their classroom, and then they go off to the different work sites. And what it's all about is getting them as interns, essentially for the whole 12 months in the hotel, immersed in the hotel world. And then when they come out, they've got a whole 12 months of a resume with experience in 3 different departments. And they're accepted as an equal team member. And they feel that, and it changes, and you see that change in them as well.
Project Search is a unique program that provides real-life work experience to help youth with significant disabilities make successful transitions from school to adult life. Embassy Suites Lincoln and Omaha La Vista have partnered with the local public schools in this life-changing program.
Embassy Suites is really a true community partner, focusing on our students' capabilities and not the students' disabilities. We have students that are really gaining skills to be gainfully employed after they leave LPS.
The mentors and the supervisors at the Embassy are fabulous because they accept the students exactly how they are. They treat them as a regular employee. They want them to do well, so they're willing to have the extra patience and time and work with them and teach them.
It's been great. I mean, I think they've really enjoyed it. We've enjoyed having them. I know, I think we're learning just as much from them as they're learning from us, so I think it's been a good experience from both sides.
They're integrated fully within our team.
and that's the way they want it. That's the way Project Search wants it, and it gives them a real life experience, I think, from a job development standpoint.
And I think all of us have stepped up our game to be better managers, better representatives of our business, to help emulate a positive experience for the students.
It is a program that let us embrace the true hospitality of what Embassy Suites stands for, giving back to the community, giving back to others, and making that difference as we move forward with these students and in their lives.
The most incredible things Project Search has done for us and for Jason is that it put him in a position where he could use his abilities to succeed and come out of the shell, and he is a completely different person after less than a year.
They are changing lives, they really are, by offering these kids the chance of these internships and learning the skills so that they can be productive members of the community and go out and be a member of the community just like everyone else. I cannot tell you how many hours they have donated in making sure that this program is up and running as well as it has been in its first year. And I'll speak for La Vista and Lincoln both. Embassy Suites, you are making a difference.
I hope you enjoyed that clip. This is a book that we wrote and was published almost a year ago now, and it gives you lots of tips about starting a program, but also about continuous improvement and some things that you can implement for your program. Lastly, we encourage everyone to attend our Project Search conference. This summer it's going to be in July, back in Cincinnati. It's going to be in July, from July 15th to the 19th at the Hilton Hotel in downtown. And we encourage everyone to attend and learn about Project Search from Project Search practitioners. All of the 50+ workshops will be presented by Project Search practitioners from programs across the country and across the globe. Thanks so much for listening, and thanks so much for being part of this webcast. Bye.